Good morning, this is Bryan at Casualty Powersports. Our phone number is 505-716-3681. We're located in New River, Arizona, and we're going to speak to you today about buying a used vehicle. First thing on the used vehicle is overall condition. You want to check plastics, you want to check tires, you want to check the frame, you want to look for rust spots or cracking, chipping of the paint. You want to make sure your windshield's not cracked. You want to make sure your doors open and shut nicely. And check the overall condition of your plastics. So a machine that's left outside, you're going to have lots of fading. Fading's very difficult, or it's probably the only way you're going to get rid of the fading is to buy new plastics. There are tricks, but they don't last very long. Tires, you're looking at the upwards range of $1,000 possibly plus to get some good tires. So that's very costly when buying a used vehicle. You want to listen to the engine. A lot of times you can hear knocking and it's going to be your clutches. The clutches can make a knocking noise, often sounding like the motor's knocking. So it's going to take a pretty trained ear to understand whether your clutches are a little bit loose or worn out versus the engine having failures. We're going to look at how the radius rods and how tight they are. You want to look at your axle boots because they hold oil, grease in them, and the grease heats up, it lubricates them, and if you have 3,000 plus miles on your axles, that might be something that you will be replacing in the future. So you want to do a walk around, you want to check for leaks. A lot of times the skid plate holds a little bit of oil on it. That's usually from the oil change. Once again, a trained person can generally work that out. Make sure your lights work, that's pretty null. We have our suspension. So our suspension, we have these seal savers on here, kind of saves the seal, but you'd pull these down, you'd look underneath where the seal is and make sure that your suspension's not leaking. They recommend rebuilding your suspension or replacing the oil and seals at about 2,500 miles on a machine. A lot of times your clutches, they, depending on what kind of riding the machine was, if it was really light, I've seen clutches go to 6,000 miles plus. And if it's really heavy riding, I've seen them at 2,500 miles needing to be rebuilt. We rebuild them here at Casualty Powersports. We can also take a look at your vehicle when you're purchasing it, and we can go through it with you for the seller and the buyer. So you want to check your coolant, you want to check all your fluids, you want to make sure your engine oil is nice and clean. A lot of people just change the air filter in these and do oil changes. Here at Casualty Powersports, we urge a full service. That's going to be your front differential, your rear differential, checking your coolant. It's going to be greasing all grease points. It's shaking around all your wheels and tires off the ground so you can see the condition of your ball joints. Ball joints are another big thing in these cars that get beat up. You also check your bushings. Your bushings wear out. 3,000 miles plus on a car, you could need some wheel bearings, bushings, and ball joints, just depending on how the car was treated. So there's a lot to look for in a used car. We're going over this because mostly people aren't too sure what to look for. They do the buyer's impulse. Their buddy wants them to get a new side-by-side, and they get home and it could be thousands of dollars to fix it up, to make it sturdy for the trails, because you don't want to get stuck with your family out in the middle of the trails. So something to look forward to. So most importantly, you want to go for a test drive. The test drive is going to tell you sounds, noises. You're gonna look for sounds and noises that are not normal. Clunks and clanks, those are bolts loose or bushings loose, or oftentimes the sway bars break. These links here, they're upgradable. But on the Can-Ams, they break. The stock ones break all the time. Shock therapy, we use the shock therapy one for an upgrade. It's lifetime guarantee. They still break, but they are a lifetime guarantee, so that's why we use them. We stand behind that product. So driving the vehicle, you're gonna notice smooth acceleration, or you're gonna have jerkiness. That could be, if you have jerkiness, that's gonna be a condition in your clutch, or it could be a burnt belt. So you need to take that into consideration. You need to apply the brakes, make sure they're smooth. You need to make sure everything in the vehicle is smooth and it sounds good. If you hear some belt squeal, that could be indications of clutch or belt issues as well. All right, so one big mistake people do is they buy these cars that sit in the garage. Here in Arizona, we have extreme heat and it gets fairly cold. Now, their tires show tread. This is a perfect example of what we're gonna talk about. The tires show perfect tread, but they don't notice the cracks in the tires. So the tires might be brand new, but once you have cracks and dry rot, you're gonna have a failure and you're gonna need to replace them. So same goes with all rubber or components on your engine. So your seals, your belt, seals inside shocks. Even though the shock's been sitting for 3 years and the car has 500 miles on it, you could incur possible damage or replacing some things because of that dry rot. So there's a happy medium of a car with very little mileage that's been kind of ran, and there's I mean, you don't want a car too beat up. Battery. So if you have a car that's 3 years old and the guy jumped it when you went to go purchase the car, you're gonna have a dead battery. Because here in Arizona, batteries last 2 to 3 years, sometimes 1 year. Just depends if you put your battery on a battery tender and how you take care of it. But batteries do not last very long, and they're $150. Here at Casualty Powersports, we're providing this video so you could be educated, and if you don't feel comfortable, you always have the option to bring it to us and we can look over your vehicle very reasonably. So we provide the service to the seller and or the buyer. We can help you the best we possibly can, and if it needs to go mobile, we could work that out as well.